Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Good crack-a-noon to our friends on the East Coast. I'm Todd Obert from Productive, joined here today with JT Fanning and Luke Fredrickson of SonicWall. And today is going to be about Zero Trust Network Access. It is SonicWall's product, Cloud Edge Secure Access. I think you're really going to like it. We think it is extremely cool. So, we are excited to hear what Luke and JT have to say. If you've been to our events in the past, you know how we do it. We'll meet Productive in 1 minute, and then we will get straight into the real content, talk about simplifying security for remote hybrid workers, really think about what the power is in Zero Trust Access Control, how Cloud Secure Edge integrates into your environment and the security stack, and then really take a look in the real world of how it works. So, as you know, utilize the chat feature if you have questions along the way, and we will get them answered. But first, let's meet Productive. Who is Productive? Well, I appreciate you asked, even though you're muted out. Productive Corporation improves the security posture of mid-sized companies. We offer specialized expertise to help you understand your overall security needs. We also implement, test, and optimize everything that we sell, whether that's managed detection and response, firewalls, next-gen firewalls, mail, web security, assessments. We do that. We also produce third-party content, which is on productivecorp.com/content, as well as our YouTube channel. The bottom line is we have the resources to help you, whether that's assessment, implementation, licensing, or security services. You can reach all of us, just help@productivecorp.com, whether that's for a new request, an existing issue, or anything. Very easy to get a hold of the team. That is how we do it. So, like I said at the top of the broadcast, we are talking about SonicWall Cloud Secure Edge. The gentlemen that are going to talk about it today are from SonicWall, as expected, Mr. JT Fanning and Luke Fredrickson. I will turn the microphone over to Luke, and he is going to give us an overview of what's going to happen today. Luke?
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. Thank everyone for joining today, taking some time. Really excited to co-host the webinar today with Productive Corporation. As you mentioned, today we're going to introduce you to SonicWall's Cloud Secure Edge, or CSE for short. It's our newest cloud-native offering that's built to help organizations secure users, apps, and data no matter where they are. Whether you're navigating hybrid workspace, securing remote access, or looking to modernize your network security strategy, CSE has the flexibility and the protection you need. But I'm not going to steal all the thunder from Mr. JT Fanning. I'm going to hand it off to our expert. So JT Fanning is our Senior Manager of Cloud Security here at SonicWall. JT, can you walk us through what CSE is and how it's making a real impact on our customers' environments today?
I look forward to doing it. Thanks. Just to make sure everyone can see the screen, is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Good to go.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity that Productive has given us to chat with the group here. And we're going to talk about this product called Cloud Secure Edge. So Cloud Secure Edge really focuses on three things. There's this idea that your remote users need some security that may not exist today. And we want to have outcomes delivered to our customers that allow you to tie the user to the device, do that in a continuous manner, meaning if you're working remotely, do I know what device you're connecting from? And can I make sure that that device meets some sort of minimums? And then finally, help customers move towards a zero trust architecture. This word zero trust gets thrown out often. It can apply to lots of different portions of network security, as well as just physical and access security. I think the team at Productive have tons of resources around how to move towards zero trust. But today we're going to focus on doing that from a networking or an access perspective. So at a high level, for those that are technical, that want to see the details or want to review this, I can go through this in more depth. I'll watch the chat feel free to interrupt. But what we're doing is modernizing VPN, modernizing remote connectivity. For those of you that have worked from home in the past, or you have remote workforces, you know that many of them have a VPN client that they connect to some sort of private resources, whether those be hosted on premise or in the cloud, or maybe they're just completely SaaS-based applications like Office 365, Drive, OneDrive, Google Workspace. And the reality is organizations are looking for ways to secure that in a more consistent manner. And that's what we provide here with our product. So I like to joke initially when we start off, like, how many of you have seen this screen before, right? If you're using Entra ID, you probably see it every morning or maybe multiple times a day. Then it asks you to click on your name. Then it has you put in the code. And then finally, you get access to your resource. But it's like, why, right? What's happening? Well, organizations are forced to set up these security parameters to help secure those remote devices. Remote devices present one of the biggest hurdles for connectivity today. If you think about a modern organization, it used to be everyone was behind a secure firewall, everyone was working in a geography that was supported, and everything that they touched was on premise, right, or local to that user. But now people work from all over the globe, and organizations have to secure devices of all different types, right? Mobile phones, laptops, cell phones, BYOD, like bring your own devices. And the applications that have your critical data are all over the place. Furthermore, cyber attacks have become the primary way for criminal organizations to fund their nefarious acts. So SonicWall, we saw that 61% of the time, hackers are leveraging code within 48 hours to try to exploit your network. So managing that from a user perspective becomes more and more challenging. I bring this stuff up because, there's a cost associated with all of this. And a lot of businesses I talk to say, like, we're not the target, or they're not after our data, or we don't have data that's relevant. I hear that very often. The fact of the matter is, most of the time, you are not a target, but you are being harvested. You are a potential weak spot, or a spot where people can find value from your data. There's a story that came out about a month ago where one of the Ford distribution facilities was interrupted because the company that makes the rear view mirrors couldn't produce the rear view mirrors and ship them to the Ford factory to complete vehicles. And so you think about a global company like Ford, who invests in all this infrastructure and security, they're being impacted by a small business that produces rear view mirrors, right? And if you see some of the stats on the screen while we've been talking, malware continues to increase, and the average cost of ransomware is approaching $1 million. And so for a lot of our medium-sized businesses, in addition to the impact of the financial cost that ransomware brings, there's also reputational challenges that they have to overcome, and we're in the business of securing those small businesses. By the way, most of these times, the events, you see that bottom stat, 33% of the time, cyber insurance events are related to BEC. If you don't know what BEC is, that stands for Business Email Compromise. Sometimes it gets called Business Systems Compromise, but it's things like Teams and Office 365 and other sharing apps, file sharing or message sharing apps that allow people to have access to your data. I saw something on Todd's slide a minute ago about doing managed detection response, and I think that's a big piece in that platform as well. So SonicWall's Security Operations Center found that most of the time, there's about 85% of the time, an actionable alert is triggered, but is not acted upon or responded to. So many tools that are in place are not being leveraged properly. And that's one of the biggest reasons SonicWall partners with people like Proactive to help secure their networks, right? Customers need that support. So if you haven't seen news about VPN technologies, SSL VPN primarily, they're the hot button item for cyber attackers today. All companies, us included, have had situations where there are CVEs, which are vulnerabilities associated with the SSL VPN platform. And what that allows cyber attackers to do is access critical information on your network, sometimes without any sort of input from your user, right? In some cases, they can just use these tunnels to access your corporate network securely. Part of that is because it's a legacy technology. Part of that is because it provides a very secure way to get onto someone's network. So I take a break here just to call out, this is a myth. I hear it so often. It's like, I don't need this, I'm a small business, or I don't need this because it's just for enterprise customers. Well, I would agree. You know, these guys, forgive my comedy here, but these guys are not targeting you, right? And it's certainly not Tom Cruise rappelling from the roof to try to get into your mainframe system and access your email or access your files. And it's probably not the kid in the basement trying to log in to change their credit card, the credit score, or their grades, or whatever the old movie tropes are. It's actually most of the time much simpler. It's more of this, right? That awkward thing where a user who's trying to work and be efficient encounters an email that looks probably mostly legitimate, and through that action reveals their username and their password. The user has no idea they did something wrong, and then all of a sudden someone has access to your corporate environment. And the amount of damage they can do at that point is dependent on how your environment's configured. So what I'd like to maybe just illustrate here, and I can show this on my physical device as well, is why it could be better with the SonicWall solution. So you imagine that same user on the left-hand side, they have this platform called our Banyan application, or Cloud Secure Edge platform. And when they want to access a resource, see those resources on the side, like internet websites, software as a service applications, you could think of like Office 365 or something like that over there. Before they're given access, they have to check in with our command center. So before these users are able to talk to your secure environment, they're verified to ensure that they have a minimum level of risk. And what we mean by that is we check their device for their user credentials. Who are they? Do they have two-factor authentication set up? Are they doing multi-factor? And we build a level of trust with the device. And what we mean by trust is we check the device for certain factors. They could be things like, do you have an endpoint detection response tool or an EDR tool installed? Is it running? Have you done the most recent Windows updates? If you're connecting from an unmanaged device like an iPad, do you have the screen lock turned on so that if you leave your laptop or your iPad out at the airport, someone can't access our data? Certain factors like that help us build a device trust list. And then once we combine the device trust with the user, we give them access to those resources. And again, from a user perspective, this is transparent. They don't have to select where to go. Their day-to-day operations are the same as whatever it looks like today. They click the hyperlink or they go to the file path. They start remote desktop. Whatever services they're using today are the same, but they're doing it over a secure and protected tunnel.
Hey, JT,
Now, yeah.
How long does it take to get set up for the average customer?
That's a great question. As quickly as, like, our marketing stuff says 15 minutes. I think with a partner's help, like yourself, it's easily done 15 minutes. If you know networking and technology, it's much simpler than traditional SSL VPN. So okay. I would say less than an hour. If you don't, I mean, that's part of the reason we partner with you all, so that you guys can do that as a service. So it is very simple in comparison to the other technologies that would exist.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question. So in this scenario, you can imagine, okay, cool. I'm a trusted user. I've been given access, but maybe something changes, right? Maybe my endpoint detection tool detects malware running on my machine. Or maybe someone at a coffee shop changes my connectivity, right? I'm not on a trusted wireless network anymore. Maybe I'm being, they call it like sniffed or spoofed, right? And going through a fake wireless network. What happens? Well, SonicWall does a continuous authorization of that device. So if the trust changes on the device, the user doesn't have access to those resources anymore. So we block out the ability for them to access those applications, and we give them remediation steps that can be customized. So as soon as something malicious happens on the device, even if it's just like they haven't updated Windows properly, or they turned off their Windows firewall, the user would lose access to the network, and they have to restore that to a good state before they were able to rejoin the environment. We're doing all of that for your secure access. But we also can do domain categorization or threat detection. So when someone goes out to the internet and they want to go to youtube.com, your organization may not mandate that that's a problem website. And you may not want to make them go through some sort of trust scoring. And we can support that as well. So you can exclude or include websites and applications to which fall into that trust score. This is all done as a service. There's no resource requirements for you as a customer to have. You can use any network security appliances, right? We'd love for you to be a SonicWall customer. I think many of you are, but if you're not today and you're using a competing network firewall, that's fine. We're flexible. We can work with them. If you are a SonicWall customer today, there are some benefits of just ease of use, mainly that our firewalls can serve as an endpoint for these connections. And we support any device type. So it doesn't matter if you have Windows or Mac environment, if you use Android, use iOS platforms, iPads, we support all of those. We recently rolled out Chromebook support if there's folks that are using Chromebooks in their environment. And we're trusted by some really large brands to do that. I didn't mention this at the beginning, but SonicWall acquired this technology, a company called Banyan Security, about 18 months ago. And Banyan Security was focused on delivering these solutions to enterprise customers. So you'll see some names you probably recognize there, like Oracle NetSuite and Chick-fil-A. When they're running their environments, they're secured by SonicWall technology. And what we've done over the past 18 months is bring the cost down to make it more approachable for the mid-market. We've also brought in a lot of ease of use. So to Todd's point about how quickly can I set this up, we've reduced that time substantially for our customers. Make it something you can onboard, prove out the value, understand what benefits it will have for your organization, and then ultimately move towards securing your remote workforce. So a lot of times people ask, hey, what are the different trust factors? I just took this screenshot so it's on here. You feel free to screenshot it. I'll also share this slide deck out with the group so you can get it later. But here's some examples of the trust scores. I mentioned some of the most common ones are you running the Windows firewall? Is your operating system up to date? Some of the more nuanced ones are like, if you're connecting from an iOS device, I want to make sure it's not jailbroken, right? That way you're not running any malicious applications. So I have this as a what's next. I think the best thing here would be, hey, Todd, if you have a what's next or where you'd like to see the group here follow up, I would let them do that. But I do have some additional links following. But yeah, I would love to have a conversation.
I think I think you're right on. I mean, it's always better to have a specific conversation about your specific environment and your needs from a security posture standpoint. The one thing I would keep in mind that JT said, this isn't an enterprise solution, right? SonicWall has made their hay historically in the mid-market and SMB. I mean, that's who we are too. That's why we're pitching this solution. So, right, this isn't just, pie in the sky. This is something that works within budgets and is great technology for mid-size organizations.
I did pull up. Can you guys still see my screen? I was going to show the folks on the call just what the UI looks like. So from like a user perspective, this is the application running on my laptop currently. And you'll notice something here that I don't have to log in for another 23 hours. So if you're one of those people that has, users or executives on your team that are like, hey, I get tired of being prompted to do two-factor authentications all the time. One of the simplest and easiest ways we help operationally improve businesses is just reducing that noise, right? So when SonicWall rolled this out, I went from having like probably 4 or 5 two-factor authentication pushes a day to having 1. And it happens in the morning when I log in. And after that, regardless of if I move my laptop around or where I'm working, I have access. The second piece, we have this in here as an example, but we can publish hyperlinks. So one challenge that happens with some of these tools is user adoption. We can actually publish web URLs here for the user to go straight to the resource that they want to. So this will take me to a web address. These can be like file shares or applications that your company uses. And then the user is actually able to see all of their trust levels. So if their trust level changes, you'll notice that my firewall, I just turned the firewall off as an example. The user will get this custom message that pops up that says, hey, here's a suggestion on how to remediate that. The admin wouldn't necessarily be involved. So those of you that are on the IT admin side would, you see how fast that happened too. Like I wouldn't be able to connect to our resources now. But the user can have the steps loaded up for them, or this could be a custom message. So it could be like, hey, call our phone number or open a ticket at xyz.com, or it could be just like, hey, turn the firewall back on. And all of those things are designed around user first, user friendly, super easy to manage, super easy to control. Any questions on that, Todd? Was there any questions that came in the chat? I was the chat here.
Hang on.
Sure.
Oh. Let's see. Why am I missing that?
That's right.
There was a.
Right. By the way, I'm working out of a hotel down in Mexico right now. I was talking with Todd and Luke before we hopped on, and so you can see even when I'm here at a hotel Wi-Fi, which is the hotel Wi-Fi can be sporadic sometimes. I've had good quality, I think, for the most part on this web call. I've been running on the Cloud Secure Edge platform, and SonicWall has the trust and validation that even though I'm out of country, I'm making these requirements. I'm meeting these requirements from the organization. And so instead of blocking geographies and saying I can't work from Mexico, they are actually enabling me to work here remotely, but they have the trust in the device that's connecting, that they know it's a corporate issued machine. And so they're putting a high confidence that it's me.
Hey, Scott, you'd send me a chat question. It's not coming up in the chat. Can you resubmit that so I can get that answered?
Hold back up this slide.
While we're waiting on that, yeah, this is cool stuff. I like this, and it can not only provide a stronger security posture, actually simplifies it for the user once they're rolling.
I think that's been one of our biggest feedbacks is that IT departments historically they had some challenges helping people do remote work, and no one's ever said I love my VPN technology, but when you can reduce some of that friction for remote work, it really helps. And for organizations trying to figure out how to be more competitive in today's market, we're helping a lot of people use third-party contractors in like Malaysia, the Philippines, Egypt, and they've been struggling with how do I securely let these people access my data, but I want to take advantage of cost of labor or certain skill sets outside of our geography. It's a huge use case for us is securing third-party access that otherwise.
So JT, if a user needs to connect to an on-prem resource, how does that connection work? And will it work if our LAN is firewalled by a different vendor appliance?
Yeah, it's a good question. I glazed over it slightly, but it will. Yeah. We shall require that you have a SonicWall firewall. There are a couple different mechanisms for accessing on-premise LAN. We allow you to install what's called a connector. So a connector is like a termination point. I'm brought this slide up. On the left is the user, and on the right is the environment. So we would allow you to install a connector. There's no additional cost for it. You don't have to pay for them. You can install them wherever you want. They either run on Linux or Windows. We have an OVA for them if you have like a hypervisor environment. And they run on basically any platforms. So some people run them on like little nooks or on some server infrastructure, but they do an outbound request to the SonicWall Cloud Command Center, and they just look like another node for us to talk to. So all of your traffic to a local resource will go across that tunnel. It won't require you doing any firewall rules. You don't have to put holes in your firewall to allow it to communicate, because the on-prem connector will do an outbound request. So the ease of setting it up is really, it's just like super easy. Just install them behind your firewall, connect it out, and then basically publish what you want it to talk to, what users or user groups are allowed to talk to that.
And just to confirm, if you have a SonicWall on-prem, you don't need that connector, correct?
Yeah, if you have a SonicWall, we built the connector into a firewall. So you can use the connector, or you can use the SonicWall firewall. So that's one of the benefits of the SonicWall firewall.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for the question. Appreciate that. Yeah. So yeah, JT, thanks. That's really appreciate that, Luke. Thanks for hopping on today. This has been extremely informative. I think great stuff from a technology standpoint, from a security standpoint, and it really, I think very helpful. So if you guys think about anything additionally, shoot a note to help@productivecorp.com. We'll be following up with you guys individually.